Hello, listeners. This is the New Persona podcast. Stay tuned for the key to your new lifestyle with your host, Femi Doyle-Marshall.
All right, guys, this is Femi Doyle-Marshall here with my man Mike Lee.
Hello.
Now, this is actually the first podcast episode I'm doing for NP, lifestyle, all that good stuff, and I think I'm gonna actually tell you, we're straight doing this on a road trip to the New Persona gym right now in Brampton, which is gonna be an awesome experience. Like I said, my man Michael Lee, 416 home buyer, the alias. Tell some of the listeners here a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, my name's Michael Lee. I'm the current silver medalist of Olympic weightlifting here in Ontario, Canada. And I'm involved with real estate investing. So that's, Femi was mentioning 416 homebuyer.ca. That's my website. If you're looking to sell your house, I'm definitely the guy you'd like to talk to. And I help you sell that house fast. I buy it fast for cash.
Awesome. So we're just talking about strength training, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, all now, because we're going to be doing some lifting in the studio today. And yeah, I just want us to kind of like go off the top, just talking about training philosophies, your training philosophy, and just what happens to your body. Because I think kind of maybe telling people about the journey to where you are when it comes to strength. What we could probably do is talk about some of the records you have right now for strength training, like what are your numbers like right now, or what are some of the best numbers you put up for some of the main lifts when we think about strength training?
Sure. Pounds or kilos?
Let's do pounds. Let's simplify pounds.
Okay. Well, as a competitive lifter, I was competing in the 69 kilo weight class, which is it's 152 pounds body weight or lighter. So usually I get to a meet and I'd weigh in about 150 pounds. So at that body weight, my best squat, I can back squat 410 pounds, front squat 374. My clean and jerk is 308 pounds. It's kind of converting in my head as I'm going. My best snatch is 262 pounds, I think.
262.
Yes. And then for non-Olympic lifting, my best bench press 275. Deadlift, I've actually deadlifted 500 pounds for 2 reps. Never tried heavier than that. And those are my best lifts.
And I think that's a good starting point, so people kind of put things in perspective. So you're like 150, 155, and you pulled 500 for 2.
Yeah.
You bench pressed 275.
Yeah.
And these are numbers, if you think of like the weight class that you're in, that is still challenging, even for people who weigh significantly heavier than you. I think that's like that requires a lot of strength, and a lot of consistency. And we were in our deadlift competition to see who can lift 500 first, and you beat me because I was slacking. All right, so I'll give you that. I'll give you the hat on record right now. And I want to talk about that journey. The journey it takes to get stronger. Which most people I don't think really think about. When we think about strength training, we just visualize, I can pull 500 pounds, or I can pull 405 for however many reps. But what did it take for you to be able to do those types of things?
Okay, well, first of all, I think it all starts with believing that you can actually do it. So, once you start getting on a journey to being stronger, and you start looking at weights that are heavy, you start to realize, you observe people that can and people that cannot lift heavier weights, and it really just comes down to, first starting from mentally where you're at. Do you actually believe you can do it or not?
Yeah.
And then the second thing I would say is that it's a progression of inches, percentages, right? Over time, you're not, for most people, they're not going to be blowing through their old maxes. You're really just adding, a few pounds here and there as you go over time, and just consistently improving over time.
Did you, what would you say was your starting point? Like, how long have you been lifting? Let's first kind of do that as like the baseline.
Sure. I started weight training when I was 16, actually.
How old are you now?
29.
29. So you're 16, started lifting at 16, right?
Yeah.
Was it a consistent path for you, or did you have injuries? Kind of talk about that too.
Sure. From the age of 16 until I've, probably about 22, 23, I was consistently working out in the gym. I played several sports. I was in university. I was on the track and field team. I was on the football team at York University, and that's when I started actually Olympic lifting as well. Really found a passion for that, and somewhere in between that, I kind of took a couple of years off and I cruised, and then I got back into training about 3.5 to 4 years ago. So I would say I was off for a couple of years.
Yeah. Do you think you needed that, that time off, or?
No.
No,
it's just career.
Okay. Just asking.
Actually, I always try. Even back then when I was off, I wasn't completely off. I would still get in the gym for, a couple 45-minute sessions a week kind of thing.
Yeah.
Fitness has always been that part of my life ever since, the age of 16. But injury has played a part. So I've dealt with a couple injuries, nothing super serious, but it can derail you. And when you injure a muscle, you just get a ton of muscle atrophy, right? It's basically like starting from the ground up.
And atrophy, you're talking about shrinking of muscle, muscle gets smaller, get weaker, that type of stuff, right?
Muscle gets smaller, gets weaker. It's when you talk about muscle activation, you might find that you had a muscle that you understood thoroughly. Your mind would command it what to do, and all of a sudden you're coming back from an injury, and that mind-muscle connection's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to find a way to make it happen again.
Yeah. And one thing I'll even talk about, we're just floating, but I would say that concept of the mind-muscle connection, I think the process to understand what that is takes time in itself. I think being injured, even though it's not a pleasant experience, anyone going through injury, like me, my own self, I experienced several injuries. You were witness to one of those ones on a squat, which was a historically non-enjoyable experience. But those times of trauma forces you to learn more about yourself. Definitely. And I think if anyone here is listening has faced some sort of injury, or they know someone that has some sort of injury, you can learn that, or use that as a moment to learn about your body a lot better. There is a physiotherapist I was connecting with about a year ago that talked about this concept of when you get injured, you got to learn the new normal for your body. You might have been operating at 100% capacity before you were injured, and now you're functioning at maybe 95% or 90%. You got to figure out what that normal is like for you, and modifying how you move to get the type of results you want to get. So I think that's where you need to learn that mind-muscle connection, and for you to learn that mind-muscle connection, it takes a certain amount of time.
Sure. I agree with you.
And I think I want to ask, how long would it take for a beginner to actually recognize that mind-muscle connection?
You know what? Actually, this is a question that I get asked fairly often, or how much results can I get in X number of time as a beginner? I think the answer is that it really depends. It depends on how frequently are you training, how hard are you training, how's your sleep, how's your nutrition. All of these factors play a part. I'm not gonna drop the genetics card because I just don't believe that, you know, people are so drastically different from one another.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're a beginner getting in the gym, I would say, you know, you would want to train frequently if possible.
And frequently, what would you recommend for how often for somebody to train to get that mind-muscle connection? And I'm speaking even just from like an Olympic weightlifting perspective, because I know we could talk on general strength principles because they overlap. But like, if you wanted to build that awareness of your body when it comes to lifting and strength training from your experience, that frequency, how often would you say you would need to be doing your training?
Okay. You know, 3 to 4 serious training sessions a week.
Yeah.
Pretty much what you got to do. And if you want to learn faster, you got to do a little bit more. But those, the little bit more, it could just be technical work, you know, with light weights, even just the bar alone. You know, we're taught to lift the bar, even the bar alone, like it's a maximal weight. So, you know, you start to learn the mind-muscle connection really by working your technique over and over and over again. You know, it's really that principle that, you know, you have to do a task 10,000 times to become a master at it, right?
Yeah, that's Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, for those of you that have not heard the 10,000 hour concept. It's been around for a little while. Yet Malcolm Gladwell, if you listen to this, awesome book. It's one of my favorite ones besides The Tipping Point. But yeah, continue. Go on 10,000 hours.
Absolutely. So let's just take the bench press, for example. You know, I could have my 3 to 4 workout sessions a week, and bench press will be a part of that. But if I really want to develop the best technique, the best mind-muscle connection for that lift, I'm going to have to do some extra work, which is going to, you know, could be just doing technical work with the bar. Could be accessories, you know, and all those things will add up over time to, you know, help you develop that connection.
True. Now with like all of the data that you've compiled through, over 10 years of strength training experience, and how many years of Olympic weightlifting experience you say you have now?
Wow. Well, competitively, I'd say 4 years, and probably 6 years total since I started Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
I did have that break in between, but I would say I've been competing for close to 4 years.
Shout out to your coach. Who's that coach that helped you?
Layler.
Say it again.
Lance Layler.
LPS. You're getting
Layler Performance Systems.
You're getting shout outs, Layler, Mr. Clarence Layler. And I did an interview with you years ago when I first started doing podcasts and radio show segments. So I wanted to shout you out on here as well. But what I was trying to get at is who did you get your data from throughout all the years of strength training that you have the knowledge where you're at now?
Oh, good question.
Just so people can find out some more resources, right?
Yeah, you mean kind of like the background of some of my philosophies, or?
Yeah, like where did you establish, like who did you get your information from? You know, who are some great coaches?
They're dropping some names.
Yeah, you're gonna drop some names so people can get some information, because you're silver medalist, right, for lifting, and you have roughly about 6 years experience doing that. So I want some of the listeners to kind of get an idea of where you got this data, this information that helped you excel with where you're at right now.
No problem. So, you know, starting out from a track and field background, there was probably one of the most world-renowned coaches in sprinting. His name's Charlie Francis. He trained some athletes, you know, names like Ben Johnson, for example. And he had certain philosophies about training, which included, you know, really doing a lot of high intensity training, which and weightlifting, which is, you know, in the 80s when Charlie Francis was coaching, those were not the norm at the time. So I would say that, you know, from an early age, I kind of adopted some similar philosophies in training as Charlie Francis. Later on, when I got into weightlifting, you know, Clance was actually using a philosophy that it has different sprinkles of different coaches. One would be Pierre Wall, who's a weightlifting coach in Quebec, Canada. In terms of background, most of the background actually comes from the Bulgarian training system of weightlifting, which is a lot of maximal effort training, high frequency training. I would say it's low in volume, but there could be several training sessions per day at very high intensities, and that was popularized by a coach named Ivan Abajev. Might have pronounced that wrong, but he's actually passed away recently. But there's a lot of coaches that follow in his philosophies. Clance adapted a lot of his philosophies from Ivan Abajev as well. And recently this year, I also had an opportunity to go to Las Vegas. I did some training at the Average Bros Gym, which is owned by Coach John Bros. It's one of America's top weightlifting coaches. It's very similar philosophies there as well. And I've just adapted so many other things over the years. Training also. There's a gym here in Scarborough, Ontario called Afterburn, and there's a lot of world level powerlifters that train there, both male and female, different weight classes, and they actually have totally different training philosophies. So I've had the chance to learn from them, and the great opportunity to learn from some other great lifters that even have completely different training philosophies as well.
Awesome. I think there's like a lot of data just kind of like in that one list of sources, and we're probably going to get close to closing this interview, which I think has been really awesome already. But what I would probably want to share with the listeners out there is what would be some of the best tips or takeaways you would give them towards getting stronger, maintaining health. Like, what would that be?
Tips towards getting stronger, maintaining health. Okay. There are certain functional pillars that you need in your lifestyle plan in order to achieve that, and so you need to have nutrition, you need to have proper sleep, and you need to have proper training as well. But if you're going to be in the gym and you're going to want results, you got to take into account there's 24 hours in a day. You're only going to be in the gym 1 or 2 hours of the 24. If you're not getting the rest of the 24 right, you're not going to get optimal results. It's as simple as that. And as a secondary to that, don't train in a way that would get you hurt. Because when you derail yourself, you're going to lose all your results. So train in a functional and healthy manner.
I like that, and I would even add in that concept of functional, healthy manner might mean you're rotating your program. If you're not lifting heavy, consistently, you might rotate it based off of the muscle groups you're hitting or the overall strength-based target of your lifts. You might hit heavy compound for upper body, but then you might rotate it to lower body, or you might isolate certain areas of the body and work other parts for like strength or volume, bodybuilding style. But I would definitely align exactly with what you're saying. You want to train strategic so that you maintain your overall physical health so that you can continue training to get the most amount of results.
Yeah, but if I could just share my perspective, the strongest athletes are the ones that stay healthy the longest.
Wow.
Simple as that.
Wow. Okay. So I think we're going to call it today a wrap with this awesome episode with Mike Lee. How can the listeners find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Michael Lee Official. Or you can look me up. My real estate website is 416homebuyer.ca.
Awesome. All right, guys. Once again, this is Femi from New Persona. Once again, if you're interested in learning more about NP, you can visit us online, newpersona.info. Otherwise, have a fantastic day. Make sure you hit some personal PRs. Let's go. Take care. See y'all soon.
This segment is brought to you by newpersona.info, your online portal for everything workouts, nutrition, recipes, and lifestyle. Be sure to check it out. Get access now.